What up, YouTube? Felipe here, back with the Will account. Hopefully, you guys have a good weekend. Today, we're going to cover a little bit more on Robinhood and Netflix. We actually sold a call for Friday, like we usually do. And I wanted to cover with you guys what I think of this market and some of the income we've made this week and how we're going to recoup some of those losses. So, get us started. We actually had a pretty gnarly day. I'll actually make myself a little smaller. We were up a good bit today. Actually, a little over 2%, counting overnight. And I wanted to highlight Netflix because this thing has been like a sleeper pick. I feel like nobody talks about Netflix, but they have kind of been ripping 8% on the last month, on the 3 month, 15%. And I've talked about Netflix in the last couple of episodes. I was buying all the way down because I thought the whole thing with Warner Brothers Discovery was kind of blown out of proportion. And now we're seeing a pretty strong recovery. I think Netflix is probably one of the better stocks to buy right now. At these prices, they're coming back to being fairly valued. So if you didn't pick up shares, it's not necessarily too late, but just think about it. You're not going to be buying it at such a steep discount. A lot of you guys, I'm sure, we're waiting for a bigger crash or have cash on the side still. And to be frank, like we might have seen the bottom already. Like nobody knows. But in this case here for Netflix, you can see my average cost is $87. And a lot of the buying I was doing, it was actually at around $90, $95. But I kept averaging down whenever the stock was trading lower. And now I'm up over 17%, almost 18%. Give it another couple of weeks, you'll be at 20. Give it another couple of months, we might see even 30% gain just from this stock right here, from me buying down. And whenever there's a lot of pain in this market and negative news when it comes to this kind of stuff, but the fundamentals haven't changed, I think that's a great opportunity for you to go and capitalize on people's fear and the sentiment that lingers over some of these companies like Microsoft, like Meta, like Netflix, what it was a couple of months ago. So I wanted to share this with you guys. It's probably one of the better picks I've had this year so far, not necessarily by money wise, but percentage wise, like 17% return in a couple of months. That's pretty cool. And I wanted to highlight this with you guys because we've seen a lot of red these last couple of weeks. And I encourage you guys to buy whenever you see a lot of pain. We saw Meta trading at 520, which is crazy to me. I wish I had more cash and I wish I pulled some margin, or I don't know. But, Meta trading at 520 is just insane. And there's a lot of other names that are also super worth buys right now. Is not financial advice, it's just what I think. Let's talk about Robinhood and the covered call this week. So I sold a 75 strike, and I'm actually down a good bit in the contract in itself, down 50%. So I could have made a little bit more money if I waited. We had a pretty green day today for Robinhood. Let's look at the charts. And I didn't think we're going to have such a run. So I actually sold my contract here at the morning time. It was 9 or 9:30 when it was hovering around $70, and I sold at 75. And I was like, oh yeah, we're good. Trading down. We're probably going to trade down or kind of just hang out for the week. We already had a 2% day, but we kept ripping up, and it's fine. I mean, Robinhood's having a good day. We might get to 75 and I might get assigned. We'll see. I'll probably roll because I think we might see a good bit of a recovery here. This market is just insane to me, but I'm trading with a lot smaller size because we've seen such a rip. Like, let's look at the other accounts that doesn't really have to do with this uh, Robinhood stuff that we've been doing with covered calls, but we had a 2% day. And like I was mentioning, like Meta a couple of weeks ago was trading at 520. That was a great buy. AMD is going to have earnings next week. They're probably going to trade up as well. They've been having a great last couple of weeks. Let's Amazon. That's another great pick. Andrew Jassy just dropped their shareholder letter talking about AWS and AI, their infrastructure spend. All great stuff that if you're an investor of Amazon, I think it's definitely worth a read, or at least like skim through the document. You learn so much about their business. And, Amazon, Meta, all these other companies, they kind of engage in the same practices, in Google as well, running ads, investing into AI. Like whatever Amazon is talking about, it's going to be relevant to these other companies that you also might be invested in. So a good little, day there for Amazon. And look at BTC and Ethereum. Jesus, Ethereum is ripping 8% on the day and 4.5% for BTC. Not too bad. Google had a good day. Again, a little bit more Amazon over here. MSFT has been trading well today, actually 4%. And MSFU is actually a double leveraged or triple leveraged ETF that tracks Microsoft. And these are pretty much all my positions. I plan on doing a video covering why I'm in all of these positions. But for now, we had a pretty good day. We might be seeing all-time highs sometime soon, at least in my account. I don't know. Kind of exciting though. I was I was down in the dumps. I was actually trading. My account was worth 106, like not that long ago, March 30th. Like think about going from 147 to 106. It's over 40 G's of gains that just kind of wiped out into thin air. But I held strong. And if we go down to 106, like I don't care, dude. I'll just buy more. These are all quality companies. Like the stock market is always going to go up. Like if you look at a graph, and, broadly speaking, if you just buy at times whenever people are always hurting and negativities around, you're going to do well. Like look at this year chart. Started buying last April whenever we saw the tariff scare. And that's whenever I was able to build some good positions with Google and Amazon, and Meta and Nvidia actually came this year. And that's why you see such a sharp drop, because Meta and AMD, they're leveraged positions. So whenever we see pain, we see a lot of pain as well. But enough of this portfolio. Let's get to the Excel and talk about a little bit more of the credits that we've received this week. And I'll see you guys there. Back with the Excel, I will actually leave a link in the description with a copy of this. So if you want to use it, I actually had a comment of this person asking for it. So I'll drop a link down in the description of the video where you can just create a copy of this Excel and use it for yourself. So if you're wanting to use this spreadsheet, and I'll be frank, it's not completely built out, but it's a good start. It covers the ticker you're trading, date of expiry, strike, whenever you sold the contract or bought it back, quantity, the week, your premium. I think this is important to track, because if it wasn't for this, like I'm not relying on Robinhood to keep track of my stuff. And I trade on 2 different accounts. So this is a good way to have a good hub of information. So this is the call that we sold this week. We booked a $52 credit, and we'll see if it expires worthless or if we have to buy it back and roll it. But as you guys saw last week, we actually had a pretty bad week. We're trading with a little bit more size, and honestly, I somewhat regret it. But nevertheless, it's a good learning experience. Let's look at our tally for week 5. So far, we're at $52, but it's not realized yet because I haven't bought the contract back or it hasn't expired worthless, so I'm not counting it. But we had a pretty brutal last 2 weeks, week 3 and week 4. But nevertheless, it's a good learning experience. We're actually at negative $555 of premium earned, and I'm battling out of the hole. Hopefully we can get back to break even. Nevertheless, this is a good opportunity to lower my cost basis on Robinhood and make a little bit of premium whenever the stock is trading up or even sideways. So hopefully you guys enjoyed a little update on the Robinhood account. If you guys are excited about this content, don't forget to leave a like. In times like this, whenever you see pain in the market, it's important to capitalize on it, not just sit on the sidelines, not wait for the bottom, not try to time the best day to buy, stuff like that. That's just like a losing game. Buy all the way down to the bottom and deploy your cash. Don't be sitting on the sidelines, because we might see a couple more weeks of green. I think the market is kind of fed up of the whole Iran war. We had actually pretty bad news over the weekend. We're trading down on pre-market, and I thought we were going to see a pretty bad day, but it ended up being fine. And that's because the stock market moves on from stuff really fast. So we might be done with the Iran war for the market. Like it just might be it. And then the same thing happened whenever Russia Ukraine was going down. The same thing happened with the 2018 trading embargo whenever Trump, first term, was battling with China. All this kind of stuff, guys, it just comes and goes so fast. And if you don't deploy your cash, if you're waiting for a bottom, if you think like we're going to see a negative 50% year, like we probably won't. Let me break it down to you. So enough of me talking. If you guys made it to the end of the video, I want to see you guys win. Don't forget to subscribe and check back in tomorrow for another video. I'll talk to you guys soon.